Hi, everyone. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo.
Welcome back to the English Blend. We are so happy you chose to spend your learning time with us today. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're commuting, cooking, or maybe taking 5 minutes to relax between studying English lessons.
Exactly. We know your time is precious, right? Time is the one thing we can never get back, which is why managing it feels like such a huge challenge for everyone, not just English learners. So grab your coffee, maybe your planner, and let's get started.
Today, we're going to talk all about time and schedules. This is a huge topic for English learners because we use time-related language constantly. If you can talk confidently about your appointments, deadlines, and plans, you open up so many doors in real-life English conversation.
Constantly. And honestly, Mia, how many times have you felt like you had a brilliant plan for the week? Maybe you wrote it out beautifully in your notebook, but by Wednesday, you were totally off track. I feel like I start every Monday with the best intentions, only to lose control by Tuesday afternoon.
Ugh, too many times to count. It's almost embarrassing how often I make a wonderful plan only for the reality of life to intervene. It's like time has a mind of its own sometimes. I write the list looks perfect, and then poof, the time just disappears. Where did those 2 hours I allocated for vocabulary review go? I truly don't know.
I think we all experienced that black hole of lost time, that feeling of running constantly but achieving little. That's such a relatable feeling. And that's our hook question for you, the listener, today. Do you manage your schedule or does your schedule manage you?
Ooh, that's deep. That question is about power and control. Are you the master of your time, or are you just running around trying to keep up with the demands of the world? We're not just learning English vocabulary today, we're also diving into real-life organizational skills. We want to give you the English language tools to describe that organizational process.
We want this to be educational but relaxed, you know? We understand that learning English is a long-term goal and managing your time effectively is key to achieving it. So we're not going to be demanding taskmasters here. We're just chatting about how we actually try to get things done and the specific English terms we use along the way.
Exactly. I think recognizing that managing time is a universal challenge actually makes us feel less stressed, right? We're all in this together.
Absolutely. And remember, listeners, if you find yourself struggling with your schedule, you are completely normal. We just need to define the terms first.
Perfect. Let's dive into the core vocabulary first.
Since the episode is called Time and Schedules, we need to define that keyword, schedule. This word is essential to everything we'll discuss.
That's a great idea. A schedule is really just a plan. It's a list of planned things, written down with the specific times they should happen. Think of it as mapping out your day or week.
It's giving structure to your intentions. If you just say, I want to study English this week, that's an intention. If you say, I will study English vocabulary from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday, that is a schedule. Think of it like a timetable. If you have a train schedule, it tells you exactly when the train leaves and arrives. That information is precise. If you have a daily schedule, it tells you exactly when your meetings are, when you study English, and when you eat lunch.
I find it helps if the schedule is visible, whether it's a huge whiteboard or a colored calendar app. If it's written down, it's real. And the beauty of this word is that it works as both a noun and a verb.
That's right. When you use it as a verb, you are performing the action of planning.
And the verb form is to schedule something. For example, I need to schedule a meeting with my teacher tomorrow, which means I need to arrange the time. Or I have scheduled 3 hours of English practice this weekend, meaning the time is now allocated. It's an active step.
When you're scheduling, you're moving time from the vast unknown future into a specific allocated slot. That's power. Now, schedules aren't all the same, right? And there are different types of schedules, aren't there? We often talk about a fixed schedule.
A fixed schedule means the times cannot change much. The times are rigid. Like if your class starts at 9 a.m. every day, that's fixed. It's set in stone. That's an idiom meaning it cannot be changed. This is common in traditional office jobs or university settings. You have to be there at that time, period. And then we have a flexible schedule. This is my preferred style, I have to admit. I work remotely sometimes, so I rely heavily on flexibility.
A flexible schedule means you have freedom to move things around. You still have the work to do, but the timing is adjustable. Maybe you know you need to study for 3 hours today, but you can choose if it's 9 a.m., 2 p.m., or 7 p.m. That flexibility is a huge benefit for people balancing family or other responsibilities. Flexibility is a great word to practice saying, by the way, listeners. It's long but worth the effort. Flex-i-bil-a-t. Say it slowly. It describes that sense of adaptable planning.
Nice pronunciation practice. You know, Leo, when I started trying to manage my time better, I realized I needed a schedule, but I kept using the phrase to cram. I was constantly trying to force too much activity into too little time, which is the opposite of effective scheduling.
Ah, to cram, that's a fantastic verb for students especially. We use it a lot. What does it mean in simple terms?
If you cram, it means you try to fit too many things into a very small amount of time. It's about volume and speed, usually resulting in low quality. Or often used by students, it means studying a huge amount of information right before an exam, like drinking from a fire hose.
That feeling of panic when you realize you have 10 chapters to read and only 2 hours before the test, that's cramming. So I crammed my whole weekend with errands, and now I'm exhausted. That means the weekend was overly full. Or I need to cram for my vocabulary test tonight.
Exactly. And that feeling of cramming usually leads to a lack of productivity. If you are always cramming, you feel busy, but you're not actually finishing tasks well or learning deeply.
Productivity is essentially how much high quality work you get done. That's the key distinction, high quality work. It's not just being busy, it's being effective. If you work for 8 hours but only finish one important task, your productivity was low. Maybe you spent 7 of those hours checking social media or drinking coffee.
But if you work for 4 hours and finish three important tasks, your productivity was high. It's a measure of efficiency and effectiveness.
It's all about focus, right? If you have a clear schedule and avoid cramming, you give yourself the mental space to focus and boost that productivity. Exactly. And focus, or lack thereof, brings me to a mini cultural note I find fascinating. It shows us that scheduling isn't just about personal discipline, it's often shaped by culture. When we talk about schedules in English, we often default to a very linear view of time, but this isn't universal. Not every culture views time in the same way, and this really impacts scheduling.
That's true. When you start communicating globally, you realize these subtle differences matter enormously. We often hear about monochronic versus polychronic time cultures.
Let's break those big words down. In cultures often described as monochronic, like maybe Germany or Switzerland, time is treated almost like a physical path. Time is a line that must be followed strictly. You follow the schedule strictly, one task after another. You don't multitask much. You finish task A before starting task B. Being late is often seen as a big insult.
Yes, in monochronic cultures, there's a strong belief that time is money in that sense. It's a resource you can spend, save, or waste. You stick to the agenda. Punctuality is extremely important. If a meeting starts at 10 a.m., starting at 10:05 a.m. is viewed negatively. You must respect the clock.
But then we have polychronic cultures. This is different. In polychronic cultures, for example, in some parts of Latin America or the Middle East, the focus is more on relationships and completing the interaction. Schedules are secondary to the human connection. If a conversation is important, the person might finish the conversation even if it makes them 10 minutes late for the next meeting.
So, schedules are more flexible, and being late might be more acceptable because relationships take priority over the clock. It doesn't mean they don't value time, they just structure their schedule differently. They might happily handle two or three things at once, bouncing between tasks, as long as the relationships are maintained.
It's a really interesting way to frame how people approach being on time versus being on task.
When we are learning English and trying to schedule things, especially in professional contexts, we often need to be sensitive to the cultural expectations of time management where we are communicating.
That's a great point. If you are scheduling a call with an international colleague, understanding if their culture views time strictly or flexible can save you a lot of confusion. You might get stressed waiting for a polychronic colleague, but they might be equally stressed by the strictness of your monochronic timeline.
Definitely. It's all about context and communication. Now that we have defined schedules, productivity, and even touched on cultural time differences, let's move into the practical advice section. This is where we give you the tools to take control of your learning schedule.
We want to give you, our English learners, some actionable steps you can try today to improve your time management vocabulary and productivity. These are systems that really shift your mindset from wishful thinking to actual execution. These are tips we use ourselves, and trust me, they work much better than just hoping time behaves itself. Because hope is not a strategy. Planning is a strategy.
Tip 1. Ditch the endless to-do list for time blocking. The first tip is simple but powerful. We need to move from just writing a long to-do list to using time blocking.
Can you explain the difference for us, Leo? Because many listeners probably rely heavily on the traditional to-do list, thinking it's enough.
A traditional to-do list is just a long inventory. It's a list of things you need to achieve eventually, like clean the kitchen, call the bank, study English vocabulary, buy bread. It tells you what to do, but it crucially does not tell you when or how long it should take.
And if there are 20 things on the list, it can feel immediately overwhelming. You look at the list and think, I don't have time for any of this, and then you procrastinate on all 20 items.
Exactly. The list is a record of tasks, not a plan of action. Time blocking is different. Time blocking is when you open your calendar, physical or digital, and you literally block out specific hours for specific tasks.
So you treat the task like a fixed appointment, even if it's an appointment with yourself.
Yes, it's like creating a schedule for a machine. For example, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. deep work on English grammar homework. No phone, no distractions. 10:30 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. short break, maybe quick English news reading. 10:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. focus on writing emails. Specifically, writing emails only in English.
So instead of having a vague study English on a list, you have a block of time dedicated just to that. That makes it feel much more like an appointment, which we rarely skip, right? You are far less likely to skip an appointment than you are to skip an item on a random checklist.
Exactly. You've created an appointment with yourself. If someone asks you to do something at 10 a.m., you can genuinely say, I'm sorry, I have an appointment. This practice teaches you the English phrases for commitment, like, I am booked solid, meaning fully scheduled, or I have an opening at 2 p.m., meaning I have available time then.
And it also helps you manage expectations. You allocate the realistic amount of time. If you only blocked 30 minutes for a huge task, like writing an entire research paper, you immediately know you are being unrealistic. You are forced to confront the reality of how long things actually take.
Right, time blocking forces realism, which is the first step towards better scheduling. It removes the guilt of a constantly growing to-do list. Try using your English words when you block the time. Block 1, reviewing past vocabulary. Block 2, practicing conversational English.
Tip 2. Prioritize ruthlessly using the urgent, important principle.
Our second tip is all about choosing what to tackle first. This is where many people get stuck, Leo. They start the easy tasks instead of the important ones. We call this busy work.
That's called procrastination dressed up as productivity. We often feel busy doing small, simple things like organizing our pens or replying to non-urgent texts, but we avoid the big, hard tasks. We avoid the challenging English essay because organizing the kitchen feels easier.
We need a filter. So how do we prioritize? We suggest a simple system often called the Eisenhower matrix, but we'll call it the urgent important method.
You divide your tasks into 4 categories based on 2 simple criteria. Is it urgent? Needs to happen now. And is it important? Helps you achieve a long-term goal, like fluency in English.
We can categorize them into 4 boxes. 1. Urgent and important. This is a crisis. Do this immediately. Example, a paper due tomorrow, a mandatory meeting starting in 5 minutes. 2. Important but not urgent. This is the planning and growth quadrant. Schedule this. Example, daily English practice, long-term project planning, exercise. 3. Urgent but not important. This is often other people's emergencies or requests. Delegate or minimize. Example, answering every non-essential email immediately. Quick interruptions. 4. Neither urgent nor important. This is waste time. Eliminate it. Example, mindless scrolling on social media, watching bad television.
The goal, listeners, is to spend most of your time in box number 2, important but not urgent. This is where real progress and skill development, like learning English, happens. If you spend all your time fighting crises, box 1, you never have time to plan, box 2.
And practicing English vocabulary related to this helps solidify the concept. High priority, low priority, essential, critical, non-essential. When you look at a task, force yourself to describe it using one of those terms. This is a critical task, so I must time block it first.
Using those words in your planner helps lock them into your memory. If you write high priority vocabulary review, you remember the task and the word.
Tip 3. Build in buffer time.
Tip 3 is essential for maintaining a friendly relationship with your schedule. Always include buffer time. This is the tip that stops you from getting angry at the universe. This is the most underrated concept in scheduling. People schedule back-to-back meetings and then wonder why they feel rushed and stressed all day. What is a buffer, Mia?
A buffer is extra time that you build in between tasks. It's time for the unexpected. It's the gap you need for human error, travel, or just a deep breath. For example, if you think a meeting will take 60 minutes, schedule 75 minutes. That 15 minutes is your buffer.
That 15 minutes is crucial. This solves the classic problem of late arrival dominoes. If you finish one task late, even by 5 minutes, that makes you late for the next, until your whole afternoon is ruined. The buffer stops the dominoes from falling.
If I have to go from the library to the cafe for my study group, and Google Maps says it takes 10 minutes, I schedule 20 minutes. That 10 minutes is my buffer for finding my keys, waiting for the lift, or running into an old friend and having a short, unplanned conversation. You need that allowance for life to happen.
And this is great for English fluency practice too. When someone asks you if you're available, instead of just saying yes or no, you can use this concept. You can say, I need a little wiggle room between those appointments. Wiggle room is a great conversational phrase for buffer time. It means space or flexibility.
I love wiggle room. It sounds so natural and friendly. It's much less formal than saying, I require a 15-minute intertask buffer period.
Tip 4. Tackle procrastination with the 5-minute rule.
Okay, so we've defined, we've prioritized, we've added buffers. We have a beautiful schedule. But what about when we just don't want to start? The heavy, dark feeling, the huge shadow of procrastination.
The heavy feeling. The feeling that the task is too big, too complex, or too boring. That heavy feeling is the source of many lost hours. Our simple, powerful tip here is the 5-minute rule.
It's so simple, it's genius. It's simple. If a task feels too big, or if you feel strong resistance, commit to working on it for just 5 minutes. Nothing more. Set a timer. You can do anything for 5 minutes.
The idea is that the biggest hurdle is usually starting. That initial mental effort to begin is the block.
Once you overcome that initial block and invest 5 minutes, inertia takes over. You often find yourself continuing for much longer. The momentum carries you.
Exactly. You've convinced your brain that the task isn't scary because it only required a 5-minute commitment. But once you're in the middle of reviewing the vocabulary, stopping after 5 minutes feels silly. Even if you only do 5 minutes, you've broken the spell of procrastination. And you have practiced fantastic English phrases like, I'm going to knuckle down for 5 minutes, meaning to concentrate seriously, or I just need to get the ball rolling.
Get the ball rolling is perfect there. It means to start a process or activity. Just get the initial movement going. If you apply the 5-minute rule to your English learning, you'll be surprised how often 5 minutes turns into 30 minutes.
Tip 5. Review and reflect weekly.
Our fifth and final tip for scheduling success is crucial because planning is not a one-time activity. It is to review and reflect. This means looking back at your previous week's schedule and judging it honestly.
You need a feedback loop. You can't improve what you don't measure. Look at your calendar and ask yourself some simple questions. Where did I spend most of my time? Did I stick to my blocks? What tasks did I postpone? Be honest about your energy levels.
Reflection tells you if your plan was bad or if your execution was bad. For example, if you find you constantly postponed study English grammar, maybe you need to analyze why. Maybe you need to move that time block to a different time of day when you have more energy, perhaps moving it from late evening to early morning.
This is how you tweak your schedule. Tweak means to make small adjustments or improvements. You are constantly learning what works best for your personal energy levels, your peak focus times, and your weak points. If you always struggle with long tasks in the afternoon, tweak the schedule to put small, easy tasks there instead.
So the review is essential. Don't just make a schedule and forget about it. Don't treat your calendar as history. Check in every Friday afternoon or Sunday evening. This reflection period is just as important as the planning period.
Okay, Mia, we've covered the vocabulary of scheduling and the mechanics of planning. Now, before we wrap up, let's focus on a few classic English idioms related to time and schedules that you absolutely need to know. We promised 2 to 3 useful phrases.
Absolutely. These phrases come up constantly in native conversations, and mastering them will make you sound much more natural.
Idiom 1, against the clock.
First up, against the clock.
This phrase means you are trying to complete a task or reach a goal in a very limited amount of time. When you are working against the clock, you are rushing and the pressure is on. It's a very high-stress situation.
It feels intense, right? Imagine an old movie where the hero has to defuse a bomb before the timer hits 0. He's working against the clock. Or imagine an athlete trying to beat a world record time in a race.
Here is an example sentence for our listeners. I had to write the entire report in 4 hours, so I was working totally against the clock. You finished it, but it was a desperate race to the finish line.
Or, related to our topic and the vocabulary we just learned, if you cram your schedule, you feel like you are always running against the clock. That sounds exhausting. It shows the negative consequence of poor scheduling.
Idiom 2, in the nick of time. This is such a descriptive phrase. It usually implies a happy or at least relieved ending.
It means you finish something or arrive somewhere just barely before the deadline or the absolute last moment. You made it, but only by a second or two.
If your train was leaving at 10 a.m. and you ran onto the platform at 9:58 a.m., you arrived in the nick of time. You almost missed it, but disaster was averted.
You just avoided disaster. Example sentence. The student submitted his essay in the nick of time, just before the website closed the submission portal. Imagine the relief.
It carries that sense of last-second success. We often use it when we are talking about something that was very nearly late or missed.
Phrase 3, to pencil something in.
And finally, a great phrase we use daily when discussing future plans. To pencil something in.
This phrase is perfect for navigating flexible schedules. It means you are making a preliminary or tentative appointment. You're adding it to your schedule, but it's not completely fixed yet. It suggests that it might change, just like pencil marks can be erased.
It gives you an easy way to commit provisionally without committing absolutely. So if a friend asks you to meet next Friday and you agree, but you're not 100% sure if another obligation will come up, you say, yes, let's pencil that lunch in for Friday at noon and I'll confirm next week.
It's a polite way of saying, put it on the schedule, but it's not set in stone yet. This phrase helps manage expectations around your flexible schedule. It's a good way to use that wiggle room we talked about earlier.
Wow, Mia, we covered a lot of ground today, from time blocking to buffer time and even running against the clock.
We really did. We defined all the key scheduling concepts, gave you 5 powerful tools, and taught you 3 essential idioms. We hope our listeners feel more confident in using vocabulary around scheduling and time management.
Remember, the main takeaway is that managing your time is about being realistic about what you can achieve. Stop the overwhelming feeling. Don't cram your schedule.
Use time blocking to give structure to your English study. And remember to prioritize what is truly important, box 2, not just what is urgent.
And please try out the 5-minute rule if you find yourself procrastinating on a tough English grammar lesson. Just 5 minutes to get the ball rolling. That small action makes a big difference.
And if you are scheduling a new study group or making tentative plans, don't forget to pencil it in first. Give yourself that necessary buffer time.
We encourage all of you to try these tips this week and share your experiences with us. Tell us if you are working against the clock or if you managed to finish your tasks in the nick of time.
As always, keep practicing your English daily. Even 15 minutes scheduled intentionally is better than 2 hours you meant to get to. Consistency beats intensity.
That was a great talk. Thank you for joining us on the English Blend.
Yes, see you in the next episode of the English Blend.
Bye for now.
See you soon.